Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. So, about those drones. Either a lot of Americans do not understand what they're seeing and are part of a herd mentality, getting all of this wrong, or the U.S. government is trying to detect and find something exceptionally dangerous and is staying quiet to avoid mass panic. The third option that some people claim, alien beings, that is not happening. More on all of that in my analysis in a moment. But first, in a 50-mile radius of New York City, there are more than 20 million people. Some of those people in New Jersey and even in my town here in Connecticut have recently seen large SUV-sized drones flying overhead at night. Amidst the public concerns, U.S. government officials have declared that the alleged drones and other UAVs are not a threat. How does the government know this? Officials won't say. What are the drones doing? No answer. President-elect Donald Trump just added fuel to countless conspiracy theories with this.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you shoot them down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
So, no comment on intelligence briefings. Trump's Bedminster Golf Club in New Jersey, about 40 miles from New York, has been a hotbed of drone activity. And Trump says the U.S. government should say what it knows. However, the U.S. government and the U.S. military have long had a policy of keeping certain things quiet to avoid mass panic and chaos. For example, on the occasions when the United States has accidentally lost or dropped one of its nuclear devices, which were unarmed and thus did not explode, the search and recovery were classified. The public was kept in the dark so that people wouldn't stampede out of a particular town or area. The theory is that mass chaos would cause more deaths and injuries than an undetonated nuclear bomb ever could. Relatedly, if U.S. intelligence agencies have reason to believe or suspect that terrorists may have a weapon of mass destruction within 50 miles of New York City, it makes sense that the search would be kept classified, especially if there's no certainty about what may be out there. Donald Trump may not care about the potential mass chaos if 20 million people think they're facing an emergency, but the U.S. government, in my view, and in the view of most policy analysts, is doing the right thing by avoiding panic. Now, that takes us to the alleged drones. For several years, the U.S. military has had drones and other UAVs that are capable of doing thermal imaging and detecting radiation hotspots. The drones have to fly relatively low in their altitude to have a chance at detecting the radiation signature of, say, a nuclear device. In U.S. ports, authorities literally place a scanner type of radiation detection device against every cargo container. That's how close the detection technology has to be in order to detect radiation, though one assumes the latest Pentagon technology is even more high-tech and can detect even more. So how do we know that these drones, if they are drones, belong to the U.S. government or military? Well, the drones have allegedly been spotted showing the same warning lights and beacons as U.S. aircraft are required to display. Also, the drones are operating in some cases in restricted airspace. The United States maintains jamming technology that keeps private or foreign drones from being able to fly in such restricted airspace. But the U.S. military would have access to the clearances. Relatedly, the alleged drones are apparently only flying at night. This indicates the drones are not trying to find or picture something visually, which is what most private and commercial drones are used for. Now, the fact that the drones keep being spotted at night leads to another theory, and that is many of these things are actually not drones. Here's former Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, who previously served as an Air Force pilot.
Every video I have seen on Twitter or on the internet are all airplanes. They're literally all airplanes. Some of them will show an airplane that's kind of stable out there and says that's a drone. And actually, it's an airplane flying towards you at 30,000 feet. And I can see the lighting on it. And if there are drones out there, by the way, and if any of these pictures that they have shown are actual drones. These drones then are complying with FAA lighting requirements, a green on the right, a red on the left with a strobe. And so it's not a run. It's not aliens if there are drones. My guess is if there are drones, again, because again, all I've seen are airplanes, then it is more than likely some company that's out testing drones or something like that and has no requirement to tell the public that they're doing it because they're actually operating these things legally. There have been no accusations of illegal operations.
No accusations of illegal operations, so maybe it's a private company doing some tests. Perhaps. But at this point, one would think that a private company would offer some clarification or information given the growing public anxieties. And that takes us back to the theory that public fears from mystery drones are more acceptable to the US government than mass hysteria and evacuations of the New York metropolitan area. I do think it's possible the US government at the highest levels is worried about a radiation bomb or nuclear weapon and is doing surveillance. The government may not have clear intelligence about what the threat is, and the detection could be out of an abundance of caution. Amid such a search or mission, I understand the desire to keep the public guessing, stomach the concerns and anger, and avoid mass panic and all the chaos that would spark. Plus, the goal of terrorists is to strike fear into civilians. And if the United States government suddenly calls off New Year's Eve in New York or says we should avoid New York City for the next few weeks, the terrorists would have won. They would have changed our way of living and caused a stampede without firing a shot. And by the way, if there is a classified military operation underway, it would be highly compartmentalized. Many folks in the military, including soldiers at Air Force bases that have shut down because of drone sightings, would not be in the loop. Most members of an administration would not be in the loop. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said as much in a recent podcast with Charlemagne the God.
We're helping law enforcement work through it all, mainly a homeland security issue. Our job is to make sure that any restricted airspace, nothing comes in there that shouldn't be there. That includes airspace over an airport. Sometimes another area could be restricted because it's sensitive. For example, that's close to the Trump Golf Club. There's temporary flight restrictions there. Bigger picture is we're going to have more and more drones. Obviously, if it's manned, that's different. But we're going to have more and more things entering the airspace. We got to work to make sure that's safe. What we're trying to do at especially on the FAA side, is coordinate all of that, make sure it's safe.
But we don't
John
know what
Kirby
it is,
said
though.
they're manned. Like, whose mans is this? Like, who are these people? Like, and why is it okay? And why wouldn't they inform the public beforehand?
Yeah, so they know more than I do on the law enforcement side about the identity of the aircraft. But it is true. Sometimes you look up at something, you think it's one thing, turns out it's another. I think that's what they've been working through on the law enforcement side.
Secretary Buttigieg makes an important point. Some of these alleged sightings were almost certainly not what the person on the ground thought. So there's clearly an effort by law enforcement to try and help clear up at least some of the concern and confusion. And the confusion can come even at the highest levels of state leadership. The governor of Maryland recently expressed alarm at 3 glowing lights in a line in the sky that kept showing up every night. It turns out the governor was seeing the stars that form the belt of the part of the constellation of Orion. Other political leaders have confused Venus and Mars, and several people have seen shooting stars, and in this environment they feared that something was opening fire. No, it was just a meteor. However, while most of the mystery sightings may have a simple explanation, there still seem to be some SUV-sized drones flying over several states. In my town here in Connecticut, a member of the local Facebook group captured video of a large drone flying over a nearby state park. The posting said, "They are here." What is the they? Well, it could be group panic about things that look or seem strange but have an easy explanation. Or maybe there really is a secret military effort to protect all of us from terrorist threats. It wouldn't be the first time that happened. And that sort of danger is better kept confined to a select group of military and civilian leaders until they know more. Is there clear evidence that a dirty bomb has been assembled and could be detonated? Well, if there is clear evidence, I would want the government to be straight with us and enlist the public's help in trying to find or thwart such a threat. But I also appreciate that preventing something catastrophic would be even more challenging amidst a mass panic. The bottom line is that we are not being invaded by aliens. These UAVs are either drones or helicopters or fixed-wing aircraft. It's possible that a lot of Americans are misunderstanding what they're seeing. And it's also possible that our military is trying to detect a threat and does not want to cause a dangerous mass panic. For now, as the British said during World War II, stay calm and carry on. Sooner or later, we will learn more. By the way, the government of Canada has just given Donald Trump a final warning about a trade war, and Donald Trump now seems to be backing down.
You come and attack Ontario, you attack livelihoods of people of Ontario and Canadians. We're going to use every tool in our toolbox to defend Ontarians and Canadians across the border.
Trump responded to Ford's threat by saying this to CNBC.
Well, that's okay if he does that. That's fine. But the United States is subsidizing Canada. It's truly a subsidy, and we shouldn't have to do that.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.